Hey everybody and welcome back. My name is Samira and in today's video I wanted to talk to you about why some children are not in school. So there's lots of different reasons for this, but the reason I thought this was an important video is because education is such a big priority for global development. So when some children are not in school, it actually has such far-reaching knock-on effects on all of us that I thought it'd be really interesting to break it down into a video. Okay, let's get started. So, a few years ago, I debated spending a significant sum of money to attend a prestigious college in the US in order to complete a master's. In the end, I decided not to go, but it got me thinking about the global disparity in education and the privilege of that master's even being an option. And the truth is, education is important, and it's important to every individual around the world. So education is a human right. When the Universal Declaration for Human Rights was written in 1948, Article 26 laid out that education is a fundamental human right for anyone who is a human being. You should have access to an education, and that's a lofty idea in principle. But in reality, 250 million children are actually out of school, and we know that education reduces poverty. The more educated people are, the more opportunities they have, the more they're able to earn, the more kinds of opportunities they're able to access later in life. Education is one of the strongest methods for reducing poverty. According to the World Bank, for every year of education, there is a 9% increase in hourly earnings. But globally, millions of children are missing out on this important opportunity. So, what are some of the reasons that children are not in school? So, the number one reason is access. A lot of places in the world do not have access to education. There are not enough schools. There's not enough transport to get children to schools. There's often not enough trained teachers. And even if children are able to make long distances, get themselves to school, are able to sit in a classroom, sometimes schools just do not have the resources, textbooks, blackboards, definitely computer facilities to be able to provide children with the kind of education that is current and relevant and needed for today's world. Only 64% of primary school teachers have been trained in sub-Saharan Africa. So for a lot of children, having access to education is very difficult. Another reason that a lot of children are not in school is child labor. 160 million children aged 5 to 17 are in forced labor, which often means missing out on education in order to earn money for their families. In big parts of our world where people live on a lower income, having a child who can be out and earning is often a priority versus sending a child to school. So when children are out and they are working or in small jobs, or they're farming or helping out on a family farm, they're not able to then access school. And this is a really complicated problem because what it does is it sets up children in cycles of poverty. If they're not able to go to school, then they're not able to like move out of the social class into which they were born. They're not able to, they often kind of live lives very similar to their parents and are caught in cycles of poverty that keep certain people poor forever. A third reason is conflict. 468 million children live in areas of conflict, frequently with education interrupted. When conflict breaks out in a country, it means that children are no longer safe going to school. So they can lose 1 or 2 or 3 years of schooling, and for protracted emergencies, for long ongoing conflict, that can have a huge effect on the population. Imagine if everyone in a population hasn't gone to school for 3 years. And often when they do go back to school, it can be quite hard to catch up. And this is especially difficult for people who are forced to flee their homes, refugees, asylum seekers, or children who are living in conflict zones. So another major reason is food. When there's a small amount of food that needs to be shared with lots of different children or lots of members of the family, often it can kind of force the decision for children not to go to school. And that's because sometimes children just don't have enough to pack as a school lunch, or they're not able to access food. 3 million children dropped out of school during Venezuela's economic crisis due to hunger. One of the most successful interventions to combat this was the introduction of the midday meal. So, when children are able to access things like free school meals or a midday meal at school, which is nutritious and is a free meal, it actually is a huge incentive for families to make sure that children's children go to school. And for girls, actually, once they start their period, it can be a real barrier to being able to go to school. lots of schools around the world don't have clean bathrooms or running water, and so being able to manage a period when you're at school can be a huge deterrent to making sure kids actually go to school. What happens is once children hit puberty and girls drop out of school, the differences between boys and girls increase substantially. So in India, 1 in 5 girls drop out of school once their periods have started, and 1 in 10 in sub-Saharan Africa. Over time, this means that generally boys get prioritized going to school over girls, and it means overall that girls' education suffers. And this is a huge driver of inequality between men and women. There's a load of different reasons why children can't go to school. Sometimes children are married off very young, in child marriages. Sometimes they can be forced to be recruited in rebel groups so they could become child soldiers. Sometimes they may have a disability that's not catered for at their local school. Um, they might have severe issues with climate change, meaning that their school has flooded. Most importantly, there may just not be the money to be able to send children to school. Goal number 4 of the Global Development Goals states ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, and is recognized by all 191 UN member states. Governments aim to achieve this by 2030, and assistance is provided in order for them to do so. The Safe Schools Declaration aims to have all UN member states sign up to prioritize the protection of education in times of conflict, providing guidelines and the promise to facilitate the collection of data on attacks on education in order to hold countries to account. Currently, 118 states have signed. UN agencies work towards providing education for all. UNICEF works to tackle all the major drivers of learning poverty with a variety of programs, and the World Bank provides loans and assistance to countries in order to establish better access to education. In conclusion, we know education helps. We know that having access to education reduces poverty, reduces crime, can increase people's overall wellness, can increase people's ability to earn, and overall has a better impact on society. So I guess the question is, why are we not doing more? So if you like this video and you'd like to hear more, then please hit that subscribe button, and which is going to be here. I also write a weekly newsletter which covers a lot of these topics in more detail, as well as includes some updates on my life and rambling thoughts from my head. We'll see you next time.